Cable module 9. The cable module is an option of SPAC Automation. It is an additional module that customers can add to their software in case they need to generate documentation that the cabling engineer needs to wire everything from the external panel. He leaves and goes to the field, or you have to make cable charts that go from components or connectors or terminals or component very detailed, such that the wiring engineer doesn't have to flip back and forth to the functional, but can wire these wires to the cable vanes. Multipolar, for example, by simply reading a spreadsheet or Excel format. As a result, in this slide that we're seeing right now, we have the cable archive on the left. Of course, like all SPAC software archives, Automazione is absolutely customizable. You see that. Of course, it already comes with thousands and thousands of cables already preset, so that you can already choose something that is present on the market. Of course, each customer can generate their own favorites or add brands that are not included in our supply, or download the classic web data, then that little cloud of the crack. Automation that allows to enrich nostri archivi DI.plc, drives, clamps, and even cables. Each company, however, either uses its own cables, and then you can take these or create new cables and use those within the project. Once chosen, the cable is generated. A name that can be preset by SPARC U, the user can give you the name. At that point, what is done? An association is made on the schematic with a drag. You see the first blue arrow that goes from the cable archive to the schematic. So in that case, they put VM034G0130, then put the 4 vanes. This is a very easy situation. Obviously, when it comes to multiple cables, can I put 2 vanes on one page, 1 vane on another page, 3 more vanes on another sheet, and so on. Eventually, by pressing simple buttons, so simple automatic operations, I generate outputs that I know we've put on this slide. For example, how do you see the comb output where there is mountain on the left, valley on the right? In the middle is the indication of the name of the cable with its length, with its description, and we have each vane to which terminal, to which wire it connects, both on the left side and on the right side. This way, the cabler can safely wire the cable. All this information can also be generated in Excel so that the wiring engineer can wire by reading an Excel file. At this point, we open our SPAC automation, and let's see if we can make an example to understand if the cable module is something that I can use, which can increase productivity, streamline wiring times, because maybe until today I have not realized cable tables, especially in case the project is so big. Didn't you have to do more back and forth within the project? At this point, we go to see in the flesh how it is made locally, how it behaves, and what are the buttons and menu of choice to use it. Then we find it first in the menu util, go to the useful menu, cables, and here you basically open the cables module. Cable module 9, you see it here at the bottom left. But as we said at the beginning, where do we start? From the materials archive. So the cable archive is here. In the cable archive, we can start from already created cables such as Botec, Intercon, the Prismian app, or we can use. It is therefore not a generic cable, therefore without material, and here, as you can see, we say some of the choices, no therefore of our cables, therefore indoor cables, outdoor cables, floor cables, and so on. For example, if we decide that this here is our favorite, right button, we add it to favorites. So we can also navigate here in the lap and go to the cable we want. right button we added to favorites, or classic find more, the button that does the filter, then goes to do find inside the filter. All these fields are filterable as if it were a database. And if I need to add a new cable that is not present here, right, click in this new cable area. And I'm going to fill in all the screens. So the manufacturer here, I could put the name of the manufacturer, the category. So if it's a PLC, drive cable, indoor cable, outdoor cable, and so on. Catalog code, description, training is indispensable. Here there are already pre-configured choices, the number of conductors. For example, 3 catalog code. Let's put cable, for example, cable. For example, if we want, we also put an internal KDC. When here we put 3, then we put the external diameter. If we want, we also put the formation. You see here we put 3 conductors, so let's definitely go to number 3, 3 by 4. Let's laugh, okay. Conductors C. Here we can then put the section, we can correct it here, 4444, color identifier. So the cable can be either numbered or it can have an orange, green, brown color, whatever I want. So here I give it the color, for example, gray here we give it. Brown or black, and here we can give orange. Here we reconfirm the section. We can also indicate if the cable is purchased. We can generate new ones, new conductors. We can also create new colors or new numbers. Finally, here in the screen, we have technical data and further details. So we can say have it handled like any slit material. Automation, once we pressed OK, we generated our cable that was not present in the archive. If instead the cables we want to use are already present in the archive, or I have already put them in my favorites, we can immediately start using the command of the cables and see the operation. So how easy is it to use? How easy is it to create tables? What is their added value? Then keep synchronized the tables that we have generated. So let's go to the cable area. In this case, I want to make a cable here from the board and a cable then from the machine edge. So there are 2 cables, right? Consequently, focus here in the label cables, therefore not assembled and not 3D right button. Define a new multipole cable. Then let's click here. Here we give it the name of the cable. Then the function, let's say motor roller, roller 1. And then we choose, for example, 14G1E. Half this one here in this case. And my favorites are the unbranded ones, or I have a favorite tech team cable. If I uncheck this, I go to the archive, what we saw before that had all those manufacturers. It is clear that it is advisable to work perhaps on those 20, 50, 100 cables that I normally use. At this point, we press OK. We have created our cable. The cable at this time is not paired yet, so we have not paired the cable yet. We can also duplicate the cable before creating another one. So here we go. We created the V02 motor roller 1 cable. At this point, we are going to this cable. Insert in this part here. As you can see, a marker is inserted, OK marker, with there being this check mark, insert cable indication during laying. This line is placed with all the data, and here there is the check of all 2, the veins that have been associated. So as I said before, in case we have veins, maybe 20 veins, 50 veins, I put 2 here and 2 there. 3 from here at the end, I get the output. Then when I work on the drawing and I delete, edit, undo, delete a page and so on, then only 1 button will be enough to update all the outputs. But as SPAC realizes in the terminal blocks in the bill of sale tables, let's say the beauty of an evolved electrical cable, is that it always keeps everything synchronized. Once we have generated the cable data, if I press shift, as you can see, it opens me the control panel where, let's say I have a preview of my V02 cable. So I went where the marker was, I pressed the shift button, and I saw that this is the roller motor one and the vanes that are associated and so on. Pressing here, what do I get? I get, let's say, L access of the cable. So can I then go and modify our cable? And if I delete a vane, what happens when I delete a vane? The program is absolutely synchronized. So when I delete the program, it emptied my vane. So in this case, this area here, we go back, okay? So I just did Control Z. So I went back and SPAC realized that the marker has reappeared. Obviously, these markers, these graphic arrangements are settable by going into the gear. I can choose the type of block. Obviously, if I don't like it because I want the dot, I want the V, I want another type of block, can I modify it? So here in the washer, we have, as always, all the various settings. For example, the name must start with the V. For the connected VD, always starts from 1. And then I can put a whole series of choices. Already in this screen, we can generate a small table. Right click, cable, cutting table. We have the table with the cable, the conductor, the wire number, the manufacturer, for example. We also put the function. So let's go here to the left where there are all the available fields. I also want to add the function field because we wrote motor roller 1 and we tell it OK, and we have this table. You see, with all the various data, with up, in this case, we have generated it on this page, but we can also go to other sheets. And if we want to generate an output of both cables, we press on this button, Manage Connections. Here we choose the general framework. So I want to see all the cables that start from the general framework to all those, let's say, external framework or external framework. In this external case of the picture here, we can do a scan. So obviously, when you make a drawing, you do a lot of copy and paste right and left. At some point before generating the output, it is convenient to press this button so that the database is synchronized, and pressing the outputs, we get this window. This window we can choose. What overall output? If we want an Excel file, then the first choice of all the cables or a table of connections, then a more tabular format or a drawing with the monodirectional table, then from a picture to the rest of the world, or with a bidirectional where the sheet turns in vertical, horizontal, or for example, draws all cables. Or with the typical, we will see some examples then in the project that is delivered within Spazio, then the example order that you always find online to download and see what are the potential of our automation space. So on our site, you will always find examples to download and see what makes space. So here there are a series of outputs. Now we choose one, we give it OK, draw all the cables. I tell him OK, I want both the picture and that of the door to machine. We tell him OK output. I choose this type of table, and also here, typical of the SPAC style, we have generated 4 tables with the fields that are normally used. Consider that the largest companies that use SPACs use these tables here, that which are then taken from the regulatory examples are. So one of our jobs is also to see a little of the documentation that is generated within the European regulations, American, and whatever else we give. Okay, let's see again. Okay, we have generated our output. If we go to see our output, we see that we have the cable comb. So with the various information, with everything that is this case, the vanes to which wires are connected, how many terminals we have, in which sheet we find them, the starting frame, the same for the valley. So we have all this information. Could we take the length, for example? Yeah, we can, for example, go over here and say, okay, we forgot to tell them that this right here is a 20-meter cable, and this right here is a 5-meter cable. Once we put the information, if we go to update the output, as you can see, the information that I put here has appeared from here. The same thing would have happened if I removed two vanes because I had removed, I changed the name of the terminals, I changed the name of the wires, I went to this yellow dot right button and went to update the type of cable. Putting the length. What is the point of putting the length? The length is useful because at some point I will generate the bill of materials. We tell him to process everything, so both the machine edge and the general framework, to count the cables and wires also of the external framework, and to use units of measurement in meters when we press. Okay, in this case, I already joined the unit first. Here, in the settings as field unit of measurement, as you can see, we have both the 20 m and the 5 m that we put of V1 and V2. Now, if we go to a tabular output, we generate the table of our cable. As you can see, this table of the W01, W02 is generated with the cable type, description, and material. In this case, it is not.